Across the islands of the South Pacific, Sunday is more than just a day of rest. It's a day of joy, song, and deep connection. Today, I'm joined by Sarah Elise and Matt Duffus, and they have spent time attending local Sunday services throughout the islands. And they're also here to share with us a little bit about what it's like on a Sunday here in the Cook Islands. This podcast is sponsored by Far and Away Adventures. For over 30 years, I've helped travelers explore the destinations highlighted in this podcast. To have an expert plan your next vacation, contact farandawayadventures.com or check out the show notes. Today, we're going to explore what these gatherings really reveal about faith, family, and the heart of island life. So thanks for joining me.
Thanks for having us, Kia ora, Norman.
Well, first of all, can you maybe tell me a little bit about what Sundays are like in the Cook Islands? You've traveled around different places, different countries, but it really is a bit different here in the Cook Islands.
Oh yeah, definitely. There's a different feeling here, especially in Rarotonga and in the Cook Islands. Sorry, you'll notice that shops aren't open, that sports aren't being played, and for the most part, people are home with their families or attending church services, visiting with each other, and there's a really nice, peaceful spirit, I think, here in Rarotonga on a Sunday. The whole island kind of slows down even more than it already is, and it's a really nice, peaceful feeling in Raro, yeah.
Well, one thing I've noticed, even at our hotel, they've put a little notice out saying that there's not full housekeeping on Sundays. They just, provide towels and a few light things if you really do need full housekeeping, to let them know. But they really want to respect that culture and the day of rest that everyone here really embraces in the Cook Islands. Matt, you've attended church services in a variety of different settings here. Can you tell me what the feeling is like in Sunday mornings in a place like Rarotonga or other islands you've visited?
Yeah, I think definitely, like you're saying with the hotel experience, often when friends and family come, there's an invitation often given out to members or to people staying in the hotels to be a part of a congregation and actually invite them to participate in going to different churches so that they can have the full Cook Island experience. I've lived in a couple of different islands. Tonga, very similar to this, and it's a lot easier to ground yourself again for the week. You come to Sunday, there's not a whole lot you can do, and a lot of it is family driven, and so we focus a lot on family time, be with our own family, or go out and see our mamas, our papas, and aunties and uncles, and just go for visits with them. It's a lot easier to make time for the family when you don't have the distractions of the world happening around you. Yeah.
Well, it seems like, in North American society where I'm from, it's kind of going back to, 30, 40, 50 years of what it was like where I grew up. But are there any kind of stories or moments that really capture the sense of what it is like on a Sunday here that you can think of that you'd like to share with us?
Yeah, I think, for me growing up here in the Cook Islands, Sunday was, like I said, always a day of rest and a day to be with family. And I lived in Manihiki, in one of the northern groups here in the Cook Islands. And interestingly enough, the island was sort of split into two denominations where half would attend church on a Sunday and half would attend church on a Saturday. And so in respect to those that would attend church on a Saturday, Saturday was sort of another Sabbath day on the island. And I can remember being about 7 or 8 and complaining to my mother about having 2 Sundays on a weekend and never getting to do anything, not getting to go and play in that. But as I've gotten older, I really come to appreciate the different religions and the way that we can respect each other. And I think that's what it comes down to here in the Cook Islands, regardless of, your backgrounds or things, or, if it's sports or things like that. We all have a great respect for one another when it comes to our Sabbath day observance. I think that's, like you said, whether it's you're staying in a hotel or you're visiting a restaurant, still being able to provide services that you would need and that are essential, but also being able to find a balance to, help observe that day of rest for our people. So yeah, it was hard to sometimes get a game of rugby going on a Saturday if you wanted to sort of find a quiet place somewhere away from the churches or the services happening. But that's something I can remember as a little girl living in the north, and yeah, being able to have our communities support one another.
Yeah. Well, one thing I find it really interesting is that wherever I've traveled in the Cook Islands, I've always had invitations to attend Sunday services. It's something that visitors will find that they will always be invited and welcomed wherever there is a congregation of any type. And I have attended different congregations while here in the Cook Islands. And one thing I've really noticed too is the music that comes from these buildings. It literally shakes you to the core. It's the harmonies and the music. I don't know. How do the Cook Islanders come up with such incredible music?
I think that our traditional singing is very unique, especially to us here in the Cook Islands. I think throughout Polynesia, we're blessed with quite good, beautiful musical talents. I'm not sure if I qualify, if I've inherited those talents, but definitely Cook Islands singing is very unique to us. And so we always recommend, even to our friends and family that come, to go and experience the traditional singing and experience a Sunday service where they can feel that, because it is, like you said, a really beautiful and sort of earth-shaking singing voice. And you may even only have a small congregation of 30 or 40 people, but it feels like 300 or 400 people. Which is, again, a wonderful experience that I met with a lot of people that have come here for the first time and said that was a highlight of their visit, was going to a Sunday service and being able to be a part of the congregation. And like you said, everyone is very welcoming and very friendly. And so, I think it's nice for people to experience that side of our culture.
Yeah. Well, it's wonderful for visitors to be able to immerse themselves in any culture that they visit, because and this really is a very woven throughout the fabric of the Cook Island culture, their religious beliefs. I was at the hotel earlier today, and I heard a lady at the front go up to the front counter and say, "Do I have to wear a hat going to church?" And they said, "No, you don't have to wear a hat." But Matt, perhaps you can tell us a little bit about what you notice about the way people dress on Sundays here.
Yeah, I think growing up in Australia, it's definitely a lot different when you come to here, and it's such a unique experience to come to church in the Cook Islands or any island. But the Cook Islands, I feel like where they're different from other places is their color. There's so much color you can see in the dresses. They're always wearing these vibrant colors, which add to the experience. But also you see the mamas with their weaved hats and their handicraft, and you just see a lot of effort put into the way that they dress and the way that they show up, and it makes you want to just be a part of that experience and the energy that goes on there. And then obviously when you see people dressed up so beautifully, and there's the smell as well, you can't smell it through the camera, but the smell of coconut oil and flowers, and there's all these aromas that go with it, and then they're singing on top of that. It just really makes it such a beautiful moment to be a part of. And over here, you're often inviting people to come to church, where in Australia, you invite someone to come to church, it might not be the same. You get looked at a bit differently. But over here, you're wanting them to, I guess, understand the culture and just really be aware of it and understand the excitement that comes from it. And I feel like with the Cook Islanders, they're very, like you said, they're very forthcoming and very good with their invitations and making people feel comfortable in coming and being a part of the service. And if you come and you're not wearing church clothes, it's fine. We're so used to a lot of tourists coming across, just coming in their shirts and shorts, and no one thinks any different of you when you come. So it's just a all-round beautiful experience to be a part of. And you've got really nothing else to do on a Sunday, so you might as well just come do it. And it's a free experience. Yeah, it's a free experience. Yeah, you often will just leave feeling a part of a family or And if you're good and you participate, you often get invited to join the family after, and there's normally some food involved.
Well, that's something I've really noticed too is, whenever I've attended different services afterwards, there's always people wondering, oh, how long are you staying? And I've had an invite to, if I was staying longer, which I'm not, unfortunately, to go join someone. But there's always that community and that connection that comes with attending a church service with congregations here. Why do you feel like the Cook Islanders are so connected to community, and how does that kind of religious observance play a role in that?
I'll just share before my wife does, but as it's embedded in everything. You often go to, if you come for a working experience, a work function, they'll start with a prayer. You have food, you're going to pray for food. We have a lot of sporting events that come over, and before the sport starts every day, there'll be a prayer that goes on as well. So it just becomes a part of your everyday living over here. And I feel like that kind of leads into the practices that they have on the Sabbath day or on Sundays. But I'll let Sarah share her experience as a Cook Islander.
That was good. I was just going to say, as we're quite a strong Christian nation, obviously, then all of those practices become, it's just, like my husband said, intertwined with school and work and even into our sporting events. But even before Christianity arrived, our people are quite a spiritual people and, connected. We would pray to our gods, or before we go out to fish, we pray to the god of the sea, or before we plant, we go by the moon and the phases of the tides and things. So I think when Christianity arrived to our shores, then it already made sense because we already had a lot of those practices in place, and our people in general are quite connected to our land and to one another. So I think Christianity here or religion here just amplifies that, which is already embedded in us. And as a people, we grew up in our villages. And that mentality is still quite alive, even today. And so, compared to when I've lived overseas, and sometimes you might not even know your neighbor's name, even though you've lived on the same cul-de-sac for however long. But here I know my neighbors, I know the people down the road. Most of us are related, but there's that. I think because of the way that even our island is built and the way that we've organized, where our homes are and things, it's like the community is just reinforced and made stronger. And we all rely on each other, especially being such a small place as well too. And I think that's why you'll find we are such a friendly people or a welcoming people because we're so small. We know each other. So when I was little, you wouldn't dare mess up because if your parents didn't hear about it, your auntie would. So
be careful.
We all look out for each other. I was to say it's something that maybe just on that that feel of community does bring a lot of safety. In our islands, I meet a lot of people that solo travel here or older couples that come here and say that they feel safe to go out at night or to visit with somebody they just met because of that. Something that often gets brought up to me is that our seawall down by the airport, and a few times I've had people say to me, "Oh, there's no graffiti on the seawall," or I'm so surprised. Well, you guys must have to clean that a lot, to kind of keep it in its state. And I said, I've never seen anyone do it. I've never seen any graffitiing on it. I think we again, that sense of respect for each other and for our island and the community helps us all to, I guess, stay accountable to one another and to do the right thing. but it does make for
everybody knows what everybody else is doing.
Exactly.
It seems like Well, it's interesting. I mean, you talk too about. We just had an island night at the hotel we were staying at, and they started with a prayer. before we, ate the food, and you can see it's still woven even throughout the experience of visitors to these islands. Just kind of one final question I'd like to ask, and that is, when you go to some of the outer islands, you did talk a little bit about Manihiki, and I know there's many different islands with many different congregations. How is it perhaps similar, or is it different in islands like Aitutaki or Atu or other islands?
Yeah, I would say, well, I've not been to as many of our islands, Painua, but I've visited a few and lucky to live in a few. I would say that feeling, because of their size, because they're even smaller than here, and we're already such a small island here at Rarotonga itself, that feeling is only amplified, if that makes sense. It's kind of even more concentrated, because there's even less things to kind of dilute that. Yeah. So say, for example, in Aitutaki, if you think Rarotonga is quiet and things aren't open, Aitutaki is even quieter, and it's already pretty quiet. Yeah, and it's even less open. Yeah. But the culture is even stronger, I would say. Yeah, I would say it's very similar to here, or at least in the islands that I've visited, if not more so. Mm-hmm. And because there's I guess less distractions as well. Mm-hmm. Rarotonga is kind of talked about as like the big smoke, the city of the islands. So if you think this is quiet,
it's a quiet big city.
This is quiet.
Although at market day it gets pretty busy. Yeah. That's the rush hour traffic.
But yeah, again the same, where the Sabbath day is observed, and people are more than welcome to attend and be a part of that if they'd like to. So yeah.
I think if the singing is good here, the singing from the outer islands is it's even better. When they've come down lately for the 60th, and they brought their vocals with them, it was insane. The volume and the spirit that comes from their singing from the outer islands is just beautiful. Like she said, it's
Have you been to some of the outer islands?
I've been to Aitutaki. Mm-hmm. That's it for now, but the rest on the bucket list for next year to get out there. And it would be good to just be a part of those congregations and to just see them. They all came down here for the 60th anniversary, and they had a what's the word? Manihiki, which is like the choir competition between all the islands. Yeah. And it was probably the best night out of all the nights, out of all the competitions. It was the best one, just to hear their singing and in their own language and dialect. And it was just beautiful to be a part of it. Even better from the outer islands than the Rarotonga.
So they came for the celebration, but for any other time, you're going to have to go to those islands to really experience it.
Yeah.
Yeah, and they all throughout the islands we have our different dialects and I guess different versions of things. So they still have their own unique, even down to the way that they sing these songs and things. So there is still something different to experience as well. So and then all very beautiful in their own ways too.
Yeah. Well, thank you so much for sharing a little bit about what it's like here on the weekends, Sundays, but also Saturdays for many. Yeah. And, it's really not just about the scenery when people come to the Cook Islands. It's also about connection, faith, and shared songs of the people who really call this place their home. So thanks for sharing your thoughts with us today.
Thank you.
Aitutaki, thank you for having us.
Thanks for tuning in. Discover your next unforgettable adventure at farandawadventures.com. Experience the world differently.